Prince Harry stands at a crossroads of his own making, exposed, alone, and under unrelenting pressure. Gone are the cushioned red carpets, the palace balconies, the royal pageantry that once formed a protective cocoon around him. There's no gatekeeper, no press office spinning the narrative, no official channel for damage control. Instead, there's just Harry, stripped of ceremony, stripped of safety, and stripped of the aura of being untouchable. Now, bare and vulnerable, he's squarely in the sights of two of the most formidable institutions he once walked away from, the UK Parliament and Revenue and Customs. And this time, neither is playing for image. Both are playing for consequences. A bill that cuts deeper than words. This isn't speculative gossip. It's not a snarky headline or a whisper among courtiers. Parliament has introduced a formal bill, legal, deliberate, and targeted specifically at the Duke of Sussex. If passed, it will legally strip him of the very title that's become one of his most potent assets. Think about that for a moment. Duke of Sussex isn't just an archaic formality. It's personal branding gold. It's what opens doors in Hollywood, what commands attention from streaming giants and publishers, what gives his memoir tours or speaking engagements the sheen of royal authenticity. Remove that, and suddenly you're left with Harry, a guy living in California, once famous because of his title, not famous on his own terms. Even more astonishingly, this isn't happening behind closed doors. One member of Parliament actually stood in the debate and said Harry's name, aloud in full clarity. If you abandon your duties, publicly deride the institution, and then continue to wave your Duke's credentials as a ticket to fame, there must be repercussions. That explicit reference, public and personal, is rare and chilling. It's not just politics, it's a public unmasking. The unforgiving spectacle of tax enforcement. As if the legislative assault wasn't enough, HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, has dropped a financial bombshell, an overdue tax bill demanding about $800,000, and with a twist that'll make any business-minded person's heart stop. 3 days to pay or face seizure of assets, legal action, and the crushing weight of public shame. 3 days. In bureaucratic terms, that's practically instant. The UK tax authority isn't offering extensions or negotiations, it's wielding the law like a guillotine. Consider the symbolism here. The same institution that handles VAT forms and modest inheritance taxes is now holding the former prince accountable in real time. No more quiet settlements or private accommodations. This is blunt force, cloaked in absolute authority. Isolation, the new state of affairs. Once Harry had structures of support, Meghan, a sympathetic media narrative, connections to the royal family, even if fraught, and streaming deals that promised a cushy California reboot. Today, that support has faded, and quickly. Meghan is silent. No public statements, no defiant Instagram blasts, no solidarity photos. The conspicuous void speaks volumes. In a world where curated vulnerability is currency, through podcasts, Netflix specials, and symbolic home videos, the absence of voice is jarring. The palace is disengaged. King Charles is said to have drawn a firm line. Lawyers have been instructed to stay clear. Prince William isn't answering his brother's calls. The institution that once framed itself around duty and family has, in essence, said, "This is your crisis now." Hollywood is cooling off. Behind the scenes, executives are watching the headlines and stepping back. The Sussex brand is, some say, becoming radioactive. Deals are being paused, projects shelved. One insider even quipped, "We don't do business with headlines." The crushing irony of a self-made exile, think back to Harry's decision to step away from royal duties. On the surface, it was about freedom, a chance to forge a new life in California, a break from a system he found oppressive, a bid for independence and autonomy. But in turning away from those duties, he never fully let go of the advantages they offered. For years, he continued to use a royal title for advantage, at events, in branding, in promotional materials. Duke of Sussex remained the cloak under which he sought new influence. Now, with the very cloak under legislative threat and the finances under scrutiny, the predicament is bittersweet. The escape that promised freedom now demands accountability, and not the kind he can solve with public charm or carefully staged vulnerability. Anatomy of a Collapse: How It All Went Wrong. The title as commodity, from memorials in London to press junkets in LA. Prince Harry carried weight, but Duke of Sussex, that has transactional power. Want to sell a book? Use the title. Want to launch a nonprofit? The title brings gravitas. Want to get inside Netflix execs' inboxes? It opens doors. Without it, he's just another celebrity with a familiar face and a growing trail of controversy. Second, legal reckoning versus royal protection. In the past, scandal was often smothered in back-channel negotiations, colored by deference to the institution. Now Parliament is making the law, and the law is personal. That MP's blunt statement isn't rhetorical flourish. It encapsulates the formal shift. Titles are privileges, not entitlements. Step outside, and you can be stripped of them. Third, public versus private collisions. In the court of public opinion, perceptions shift faster than policy. On social media, bones are there to pick, not a Duke, pay your dues, Sussex scandal, royal tax duckout, memes, tweets, viral edits. They frame this story not as a royal reckoning, but a cautionary spectacle. Most damningly, these memes are less about offense and more about betrayal. People aren't angry with Harry because of tabloid depictions. They feel betrayed. That makes sentiment more corrosive, more personal. The silence that speaks. A few months ago, Harry and Meghan controlled their own narrative via strategic interviews, shock drop memoirs, and high-production Netflix content. Now all we have is quiet. Meghan's silence isn't emptiness, it's messaging, and it's loud. 5. Financial pressures unraveled. Montecito mansions, staff, security teams. California's cost of privilege is steep. Add the UK's immediate tax demand, and the veneer of wealth becomes tenuous. Meanwhile, Archewell, once a beacon of philanthropy, is reportedly under internal and external scrutiny for how its money circulates. Foundations, unrevealed expenses. If books don't balance, this escalates from tax problem to scandal. 6. The institutional disengagement. Buckingham Palace isn't intervening. William and Charles are keeping distance. That structural abandonment contrasts with the royal image Harry once embodied, protected, always covered by institutional might. Now he's staring at consequences without any buffer. The cost of independence, paid in losses, emotional costs. Once, Harry's narrative was about love, duty, and stepping away. Not just for himself, but for his mental health and his family's safety. Now it's about consequences and cost. The emotional toll of isolation and public humiliation isn't quantifiable, but it's unmistakable. Reputational costs. Hollywood doesn't forgive and forget easily, and Harry's brand risk is skyrocketing. A radioactive moniker that used to be defiant now feels toxic. Executive red flags are rising, partnerships are stalling. Reputation, once carefully rehabilitated post-Megxit, is now fraying. Legitimate costs. The $800,000 tax bill is the headline. But if investigators dig deeper, examining income from book deals, foundation expenses, speeches, this could balloon. And legal fees, asset seizures, that's real cost, real exposure. Legal exposure in the red. Future costs. Even if titles survive, financial burdens mount. Funders and partners will demand transparency, and that's a risk if Archewell's finances aren't buttoned down. If Netflix distances itself, future masterclasses or podcasts won't have the same allure. Meghan's silence only sharpens that uncertainty. A final reflection: the man behind the myth. Prince Harry's journey, from black and white military uniform to Hollywood rebel to Californian exile, has always been dramatic. But this chapter demands something different. Remorse without spin, accountability without ceremony, survival without support. A man who tried to trade in privilege for purpose may now find himself owning every consequence. In the end, the tragedy isn't a public spectacle. It's a man losing control, not in bloody rebellion, but in the quiet aftermath of broken alliances, fading illusions, and a legal system that won't exempt him. If he once coveted the title and the freedom it seemingly afforded, now he's forced to prove what kind of man he is, when he has neither the title nor the protection, but still must answer to everything he thought he'd left behind. Your one click can help us keep creating awesome stuff.